People talking, saying your physique hasn't changed, bulk, whatever. I'm going to take a quarter of the amount of gear that your favorite influencer is probably taking.
You take your 30-30 and a third chance, minus my 25% chance, and you got an 8 1/3 chance of winning.
Maybe some tren. Kidding, I'm not doing that.
Just kidding, for now. Chest up, shoulders back. This is Revival Fitness, your home for gains and brains. And we have a shocking so-called development in the online fitness community. Alex Eubanks has formally announced, this is pretty rare to his credit, that he is no longer Natty, as he posted about in this video. So we're going to watch that video, then he has a follow-up one. And I have not watched any of these videos yet, but the streets are saying that one of the big reasons he's doing this is because he will not bulk. And I have heard him say in the past that he wants to bulk, and then he'll start, and then he'll stop, and he'll gain a little bit of fat, doesn't like how he looks, goes back to cutting, he stays lean. I mean, this is something I've been talking about for years now, so let's dive in here and see how bad Alex's case of ab anxiety really is. But before we start, if you want to stop wasting time and energy in the gym and in the kitchen, be sure to check out my training programs linked down below. Way more than just exercises on a sheet. I break down everything you need to make serious gains over the long term, as well as my body composition Bible, full nutrition guide, not just how to count your macros and calories, all kinds of information packed in those things. Get the body that you want and do it faster than you thought possible. So here is his video called The End of an Era, implying that he's going on gear for the first time.
For 8 long years, I've been grinding. No shortcuts, no excuses. Every rep, every set was earned the hard way. You see, I've heard it all. You're not big enough. You're not strong enough. For years, people have clowned me.
How did this man go from the most loved to the most hated fitness influencer in such a short amount of time?
He's been wrestling these allegations for ages and denying the fake Natty rumors.
It looks like he has on, like, women's pants. Okay, he gets mogged. And realistically, he is not that big, at least in the reference of the overall fitness community, because there are just massive guys everywhere in this scene. He's a muscular dude. I don't think anybody can deny that. Now, that said, something I've talked about before is the head to torso test. If you want to get a quick general gauge of how so-called big somebody really is in terms of just sheer muscle mass, compare the size of their head to what is beneath it. And you can see here, I mean, his head is pretty much the same size as his chest into his delts. Like I said, he's obviously muscular, but he benefits from, one, his chest genetics. He has excellent chest genetics, very full, low insertion point, but the leaner that you are, the bigger that you look in photos, and that is really what this industry is at this point. And I think that's something he's going to talk about in this content we watch here. The masses do not care about your physique if you are not at least at a minimum lean, like some level of visible abs, all the way down to shredded. Unless you have, like, remarkable strength, or you're a bodybuilder deep into the off-season, and even then people are not going to care as much. So if you can't compete in terms of size, you have to make yourself look as big as possible. And that is achieved through the leanness and the photo manipulation. His photographer and videographers, they do a fantastic job with that too.
Some of you think you know what I've been through, but you don't. Every ounce of muscle, every inch of progress, it's mine. It was not handed to me.
This is something else as well, man. I mean, you are a famous influencer like him. A lot of people in the fitness scene that are famous are bodybuilders. Somebody Noel size. As if the body dysmorphia is not bad enough to begin with in general. You spend a lot of time around the really big dudes. It just makes it that much worse. Just being around those physiques and seeing what they have done, it can be mentally hard to overcome that.
No shortcuts, no cheats. I stayed natural for 8 years straight, pushing my body to its limits. If you're in the same shit talk, the same doubts, your physique isn't changing, bro, you need to bulk.
Well, you do, man. I mean, if you want to get bigger, or at least you should, you can only go so far if you're not going to bulk. There's just no other way to do this.
I'm not here to please anyone. I'm not here to fit in anyone's box. I'm here for me. I'm officially stepping into the world of testosterone, not because I need validation, not because I'm chasing numbers or approval, but because I have more to prove to myself.
Well, this is interesting because he basically was just talking about how he's heard the doubts and he earned everything, so-called earned it. I guess that implies naturally. You know, people have this idea like, oh, the steroids make your gains invalid or whatever. And I'm not sure if he's going to formally say the amount he's taking. Just know whatever amount that he claims, I am sure it's going to be way, way below what he actually is taking, because that's what everybody does now. That's the new iteration of the fake Natty. You admit to taking stuff, but you just downplay it to a degree that's laughable. Like, you have guys that are IFBB pro open size talking about, like, yeah, I do a little TRT. It's like, okay, bro, sure. It's complete comedy. But again, all these kids that watch this, they don't know better, and they believe it. But Alex is an interesting case because he still has a physique that is unanimously declared as Natty attainable by all of the masses on TikTok, YouTube comments, Instagram. Is his physique Natty attainable? Depending on the person, sure. A lot of that is highly genetic, no matter how much that angers people. But what most people do now is they still ride out the Natty thing until it becomes so glaringly obvious that they have to admit it. Then they'll do it like what I said. They'll say, oh, I just take a little bit, bro. On the flip side of that, though, it has become much more openly talked about, even with all the lying. So in a way, now that shift has occurred to where it is more profitable, you could argue, to admit it and talk about it. A lot of people still are never going to for a lot of reasons, but there's more momentum behind this now.
The version of me you thought you knew, he's gone. And what's coming next? That's something you've never seen before.
Oh, this is so dramatic.
Yeah. So this is gonna be difficult. I've been thinking multiple ways of like how I'm supposed to go about explaining this to y'all, of like what I'm doing and how I'm going about doing it. I'm gonna be completely transparent, open with everything. This whole series is gonna be so you guys can like keep along and watch as I change.
What I'm interested to see is if he really starts to blow up over the next few months on whatever low amount that I'm sure he's going to say he takes. That's gonna be the fun part. And then all the kids will be like, oh, if I just do that little bit, I'll get huge too.
And I'm sure people are gonna make videos on this. I know Greg will for sure.
Oh, I'm sure he will, and has been licking his chops. He's probably made, what, 3 a day since this video dropped?
I know Noel, I kind of talked a little bit about on his page, but I'm doing it in a healthy way. I'm monitoring everything.
Everybody says they do that when they talk about this publicly, even though I think a lot of people don't. If you, natural or enhanced, would like to get your blood work taken from the comfort of home with an at-home collection test, you can use code REVIVAL25 at trylgc.com/revival, linked down below, with Let's Get Checked. Very convenient, very fast results. They are a very good company to get your hormones taken and blood work done.
So basically what happened is I was kind of feeling like, you guys have known, I've showed my test multiple times. I've ranged from naturally 215.
215, you would call on the low end. That might be outside of the so-called average reference range. They kind of update the charts every now and then. I'm not sure what the current one is, but I'd say a lot of guys at that level, you're probably going to be having negative side effects.
At the lowest, being shredded, all the way to like 900.
900 natural, that is on the opposite end of the spectrum. That's very high for the reference range.
My job is for social media, right? Like I do better. I'm known for being aesthetic and lean. When my body is like lean and aesthetic, I feel like shit. I feel like less of a man. My sex drive is shit. My sleep is shit. Bad energy, brain fog. It just isn't fun.
Well, that's how it goes. I've seen a number of photos of this guy over the years, and I'm not sure if he's ever been truly ripped. I'm talking like legit sub 10%, e.g. like bodybuilding, but he's been pretty lean for a lot of the time. I mean, I'd say a lot of guys, you get down to around that 10% range or so, that's when side effects are going to become pretty apparent. Some guys, it might be a little bit before that point. And then in the comments, a bunch of guys are going to say, oh, I can walk around at 8% body fat all year, bro. Yeah, I'm sure, bro. You and all these other guys. But not only do you have those physical side effects in terms of just existing, you are going to put a significant cap on how much strength and muscle you can gain in the gym if you're always lean. And you're going to oftentimes lose strength on a cut, depending on how far you take it. There's a number of factors surrounding that too. I have full videos on that as well. But being lean for an extended period of time, again, not just 13-14% with a little bit of visible abs under the perfect downlighting like a lot of guys think, getting to legit 10% or below, most guys are never going to do that. Even if they think they get there, they don't actually.
Like when I have to be lean and like my test is at like 300, it just isn't a fun. Like I don't like it. But then when I'm a little bit more bulked up and fatter,
he put that in quotation marks, which is good.
A lot better, but I don't like that look as much personally. I'm always like, if I could be 10% body fat or whatnot, like year round, but feel really good still, like I have like a crazy sex drive with like crazy, you know, brain is dialed in all the time, really good energy, really good sleep. Basically all the effects you have when you are at a higher level of testosterone, like feeling like a man, like a good, like hard-ass man.
Well, right there is something I've talked about for a long time now. It's the best of both worlds. I mean, everybody wants to be as lean as possible and get as big and as strong as possible and feel as good as possible simultaneously. Life just doesn't work that way. And from what he just said, I guess he's not willing to bulk for any significant length of time. He just mentally will not let himself do that. So you reach a crossroads at a certain point.
So I got it taken, my blood taken there. Within 20 minutes, they had my testosterone results, and my shit was like 350. They were like, tell me my options, and they're like, we can get you on test.
350? That wouldn't really strike me as a range where they would just hand out tests. That is how it goes now, man. I mean, a lot of these clinics, it is pretty darn easy. And that's a whole nother discussion. I mean, not only just general testosterone for guys. There's another angle to this. I'm not going to talk about it on YouTube here. But you can walk into these clinics and they'll just hand you these hormones. A lot of these places now are basically legal PED dealers. I know some bodybuilders that go through those things and the doctor essentially just writes them prescriptions for whatever they want, as long as their insurance can cover it, or if they can pay out of pocket. Really, I don't know why this stuff isn't just over-the-counter legal here. People are going to get upset at that, but I really don't see why not. Like, the tax revenue they could make off of it, it would swamp out a fair amount of, like, the black market and everything, because we're allegedly so concerned about drugs in this country, or maybe we used to be, that's kind of going away now. Some of that war on drugs type of stuff that was really big 15, 20 years ago. You see cannabis has been legalized all across the country in some capacity now. I don't really see a reason why this stuff is still illegal.
I was like, bro, why haven't I done it? And I know I've made videos talking about, I will always speak against abusing steroids. I always speak against that, 100%. But I've never spoken against TRT, right? I've trained almost, I think, 8 years now naturally. I was like, bro, at the moment, I was like, F it, bro. I was like, we ball. I was like, dude, we're gonna do it. So they pinned me right there.
Okay, this is funny. As far as I know, because I was looking through some of the comments, this guy has been a supposed natty crusader, if you want to call it that. And he talked about how he was against steroid abuse, but I guess not overall use, even though I'm sure he said in the past he never would take anything. These guys love to talk like that. So he said for years that he would never take it, you know, wink wink, and then he reached his breaking point with the side effects, and then they were like, hey, we have some for you here, and he was like, okay, sure. That's how quickly he changed his mind. And yet again, man, I don't fall for all of these guys, whether it's him or anybody else. I'm not sure if he's ever claimed this, but so many of these self-righteous, virtue-signaling, so-called naturals are like, I've never even considered taking gear. It's like, yeah, you have. You can't hit me with that okey-doke nonsense, bro. If you're somebody that is captivated and motivated to get big muscles, and you're always in the gym training, whatever your ultimate goal is, you've at least thought about it once you learned about it. Miss me with your self-aggrandizing bullshit.
And it was great. And I'm doing that, HCG, and then I'm going to be taking glutathione.
I believe HCG is something that keeps, like, the testes essentially functioning as normal.
I'm excited. In terms of the part of me being transparent about what I'm doing, 200 tests a week.
Oh, he actually said it. 200 a week. That seems a little bit high for general TRT, but again, a lot of these clinics, they might push it a little bit. In terms of the online fitness community, guys think that's a lot, or that you're going to get some remarkable results from that. Dude, listen to the guys that talk about this that actually are transparent. It's minuscule in the grand scheme of things in terms of fitness influencers and bodybuilders, powerlifters, all these other people that you see. Even just general buff people and even fitness models, that amount is ultimately like a small sip of water. So if he's actually on that amount, his physique is not going to change that much.
Will I take a little bit more? Maybe. I think the most I'd ever take is like 250.
Okay, well that's not true at all. I mean, I know this guy's kind of like a meme in a lot of ways, but he has a huge following across multiple platforms. So guys are going to be going into these clinics now, like, can I get on the Eubank?
And that's pretty much it. HCG, some Cialis every day, 5 milligrams.
Cialis every day? Why would you need that, dude? I mean, assuming the TRT is working, that should fix any potential ED to begin with. You would think so. But if you're getting, like, major side effects and ED on that amount, you must have major estrogen conversion or something like that.
And then, maybe some tren. Kidding, I'm not doing that.
Just kidding, for now.
I am so confident in, I got my coach Alex, he's going to be getting me dialed in, that I'm going to transform my physique, and all the people talking shit, saying your physique hasn't changed, bulk, whatever, I'm going to take a quarter of the amount of gear that your favorite influencer is probably taking.
Oh man, okay, so he's starting to kind of talk about this too now. The chances that he's been on more than this in the past is about 99%. The levels these guys downplay, it's remarkable. And he mentioned as well he's got a coach and he's going to really transform. I don't think this guy's ever done bodybuilding. Maybe he's going to jump into that at some point. I mean, if you're going to go on gear and have a coach and you essentially work out for a living, at a certain point it's like, why not at least try it?
And have a physique they could dream to have. And I don't say that in like a cocky, like, oh, he needs to be humbled way. No, I say that because I know I know about myself. Whoever doesn't think I haven't been natural in my life, you're stupid.
Sure.
I have been, and my physique's actually gonna change now. And I know with my like physique and my frame and the way in the way that I train, when I actually am dialed in, looking forward to something, as I always have been for the last 7-8 years. I know what I can do when I'm dialed in. Like I know, and I'm confident in that.
All right, he's like stuttering over himself now. Yeah, he's clearly making this up as he goes along. I mean, he just said he knows when he's dialed in, as he has been the entire time, he can make good changes, but then he's been like, my physique hasn't been changing much. He's basically acknowledging that the comments are right. If you're truly dialed into changing your physique, you have to accept the bulk. Even the most enhanced people go through their off seasons in bulk. You can't escape bulking, man. It is Thanos. It is inevitable. Just accept it.
I'm going to take way less, the majority of people abusing shit, and look better than them.
Okay, like I said, guys, everybody that admits to it is always doing way less than everybody else. It's always the same thing. And he's supposedly going to take way less than everybody else and look way better. So is he going to get noticeably bigger? Noticeably leaner? I mean, his physique is solid for what it is. I don't think anybody's going to act like, besides some of these delusional bodybuilding fanboys, nobody's going to say he's got a bad physique. But then again, all these comments I'm sure he sees all the time. They probably get to his head to some extent, no matter how much he acts like they don't. But these kids online, man, and the general public, the expectations of what a so-called good physique is now, it's just off the charts. That could warrant a whole nother video.
You don't gotta abuse the your body and take years off your life. You can do this in a healthy way, and I'm about to show you all that. This is a brand new Alex. The old Alex is dead. He's gone.
Alright, so the old Alex is gone. Even though the old Alex was also taking PEDs. Now you're just taking, what, legal PEDs, perhaps? Alright, next up is his following video called Responding to the Controversy, and this is a Q&A about it.
Alex Eubank, he hopped on gear, but it's like, dude, Alex, brother, you're always putting yourself on this pedestal.
I don't know who this is he's putting the clown face on.
You convince yourself of a lot of things that probably aren't true. Just like me, man, you have everything you ever fucking want. Beautiful home, beautiful girl, good money, pay the bills, everything's good. What do you need that for? You're just being man to man, you know what I'm saying? Like,
alright, so I don't know who that was still, but I'm sure it was some person that also is a fake natty that is like, come on, bro, why'd you go to take the gear, bro? Typical, stay natty, bro. Alright, we got a very intense montage here.
First question is, Alex, since you started taking steroids, I hate when people say that, bro. It just sounds so much worse.
Well, sounds worse. I mean, just because they're legally prescribed and or low dose, they are steroids. I mean, testosterone is a steroid. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Again, this is like decades and decades of brainwashing from like mainstream media and all these school programs and pro sports spokespeople and politicians. Total fear-mongering about them in general. The Tren twins did the same thing. Why did these guys sit in their cars and leave the cars running while they record this? Is it because they have nice expensive cars and the engine sounds cool? I understand that, but dude, you're just sitting here letting your car idle. Just turn it off.
Would you recommend your viewers or fans to use them too? No. So what I need you guys to understand, bro, please do not put me on the same pedestal as people blasting gear.
He's gonna take this angle the entire time, I see. He's gonna be like, well, I'm doing it, but I'm just doing a little bit, so I'm different than the people that are taking a lot. Which he has the whole medical angle as well, because he went to a clinic. Now, that said, you could also argue if you're going to take steroids, why not just go all in? You know, there's the argument on one side, like, well, you could take a little bit and so-called dabble in them and do it in the healthier way. The other side is like, well, listen, man, if you're taking gear to begin with, you don't care about your health at the utmost. Why not just blast like crazy and just enjoy the ride for what it is? Consequences, as they come, you'll deal with them. But if someone's going to take a bunch of them, if they accept the consequences that can come with that, more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
Like the twins are like same sulek, and I don't say that in a hateful way towards them. They are like actual legitimate bodybuilders. They gotta do that stuff, right? I'm doing TRT. Some people even argue that I'm doing a high dose TRT to start. I'm doing 200 milligrams a week for about 8 weeks. I'm gonna get my blood done. I'm gonna see where it puts my testosterone concentration in my bloodstream. You should, as like a natural human being, be in the range of like 500 to 1,000 at the age I'm at, like 21 to 24.
The current recommendations would say 300 is even in the low end of the so-called reference range. Like I said, in recent years, they kind of dropped them down because in general, men's testosterone levels are going down compared to the past. He said he got his dose prescribed at like, what, 350? I don't think the average doctor is going to put a guy on TRT at that level. Now, one of these clinics, they probably are much more liberal in that sense. These clinics might just give it to you no matter what your level is. You just ask for it. They're like, yeah, sure.
I'm gonna see where it puts me at. Let's say it puts me at 1,500. That's a little bit higher than I would want. I'll dial it down and take 180 milligrams a week. Put me closer to that, 1,000 to 1,200 range is where I would want to be in my bloodstream, right? Which is not crazy at all. These guys who are on a bunch of gear at 4, 5, 6,000 nanograms per deciliter in the blood, that stuff's crazy. That is unhealthy, and you cannot sustain that for a long time.
Well, apparently you can, man. I mean, a lot of these bodybuilders, they compete and have full off seasons for years and years and years, if not a decade or longer. It's not impossible.
I'm never gonna tell people to take steroids. I never will say that. I always spoke against that. Blasting steroids in gear is extremely unhealthy, and I don't recommend that whatsoever. But if you have clinically low testosterone and you can actually get it prescribed from a doctor, I don't see that being an issue.
This is interesting now because there is a line in the sand with this debate, because a lot of people would agree with what he just said, regardless of Alex's circumstance, because I'm sure that he's exaggerating some or all of this. This is all a story for social media in one way or another, right? But take a normal dude who's suffering from low T symptoms. He goes to the doctor, he gets his levels checked, and the doctor's like, you qualify for TRT, would you like to take it? And he's like, yeah, sure. Do you lump him in the same bin, so to speak, as a general gym bro, even if it's a guy who is the same age and other characteristics, but he's just taking stuff from the underground, or he gets it from some guy in the gym parking lot, whatever, and he might be taking more? Is there really a difference? Because some of the most hardcore so-called naturals would say any amount of exogenous hormones is not good and you should never do it, regardless of the circumstance. That's something else with the natty zealots too. They basically paint any amount of use as outright abuse and or addiction. I mean, you can check the comments here, man. I'm sure some of them are going to be here. I've seen insane comments from these guys over the years. They compare general use of PEDs to like alcoholism and domestic violence, mortal sins. These dudes get very emotional over this.
I knew I was gonna get a lot of hate and whatnot, but like, I always knew once I ever did something that it was gonna be an issue, versus if somebody else does it, it's usually not as big of an issue. I'm being open about everything, right? Like, y'all can hate me all you want, but like, I know so many people who don't like announce at all what they're doing behind scenes. So like, I'm being completely transparent with y'all. I could have hidden it.
Like I said, I was surprised initially at the fact that he was talking about this, but then you realize this is going to get him a lot of views and attention in general, even if a lot of that attention comes from the natty zealot side. It's all still views at the end of the day. Oh, it looks like our friend Alex has the no personality forearm tattoo. I've seen him talk for a little bit here. Doesn't seem like a guy with much of a personality, so once again, the prophecy was foretold.
You convinced me to hop on test too. That's not a question, bro. That's so dumb.
Your audience are a bunch of teenagers. They're gonna mimic what you do. And this is a whole nother topic as well, because you hear all the time, it's like, oh, these juicers need to come clean and admit what they do. Then whenever they admit it, like he's doing, regardless of the situation, right? Then it's, oh, well, you shouldn't be talking about this because this influences kids. It gets their interest piqued to take gear. So it's an unwinnable situation, because no matter what you do, you're going to get a ton of flack. The old school style of just not talking about it, not denying it, but not outright saying it, that's probably the best way in the grand scheme of things.
I see people like blaming me, saying that it's gonna be my fault if there's like a whole generation of like naturals now who choose to hop on tests.
They've been here long before you or I were on the internet, Alex.
I'm done living my life for what y'all want me to do. I'm not doing that. I myself want to be lean and feel better being lean. I'm sick of feeling like shit when I am lean. That's my decision, bro. And I actually was able to get it prescribed because I actually, in a sense, need it when I am lean. My test is not as high as it should be when I'm leaner. One thing I also wanted to address.
This guy just keeps playing with his goddamn hair, bro.
Bro, if you would have just bulked, you would have been fine. Bro, I don't take bodybuilding extremely seriously. I don't call it a bulk. The last year, I haven't tracked macros. If you follow my Snap, you see that I eat so much food. I've been in a surplus. I have not restricted calories. I have not dialed anything in.
Okay, did he just say he's not tracked food, but he's in a surplus, and he eats a lot of food? Big mistake there, Alex. I mean, this dude seems naturally on the skinnier side from everything I can tell. I'm in the same boat, I get it. I have to go stuff down food as soon as I'm done recording this video. And before this video, guess what I was doing? Stuffing down food. Bro, you cannot rely on your own appetite as a guy who is anything close to like a hard gainer, naturally skinny, naturally lean. We don't eat as much as we think we eat. You have to track your food. Bulking is still a diet. You cannot trust your intuition when it comes to eating as a naturally skinny, lanky guy. It's not gonna work. And he even said he doesn't take bodybuilding seriously, which, I mean, he's not a bodybuilder at all. But if you don't take it seriously, why are you so obsessed with being lean? You see, like, if he didn't take it that seriously, he could gain some body fat and be cool with it. But he evidently can't. So he takes the aesthetics and the look seriously, which I understand for his business and his brand. His mental self-image is probably pretty tied to that as well. That seems pretty apparent. But he's trying to toe the line here of like, well, I don't take it that seriously, but I do.
I 100% don't call that bulking. I just call it being a normal human being. I don't call it a bodybuilding bulk. I 100% got bigger, and I definitely gained quite a bit of body fat during those processes. I just don't call it a legitimate planned bulk. I'm just living life, training hard, eating whatever I want.
Well, once again, man, like I said, eating whatever you want as a guy without a naturally big appetite, it's not going to take you very far. He seems to have a mental aversion to begin with of even classifying what he does as bulking.
I've had periods where I had a higher percentage body fat, and I have had periods where I had a low. I actually got my blood drawn a few months ago, and my natural test was at 900, right? And then I got it drawn later when I was at a leaner body fat, and I was at 350. My stuff fluctuates a lot based on what my body fat percentage is. I saw people saying, he's taking the easy way out. I've been training 8 years naturally. 8 years naturally. I would understand that if I was training like two or 3 years and then I took something. That I think is whack as hell, but I've been training 8 years, bro.
I've also been training 8 years. You'll commonly hear something like, okay, you should train for at least X number of years. Oftentimes you'll hear 5 years before you start taking gear if you're considering that. Listen, man, if you're seriously into bodybuilding like he was talking about, if you are hellbent on becoming a pro bodybuilder, even a so-called natural pro bodybuilder, you're gonna have to get on the gear. I'd say sooner than later. It's in your best interest to do that unless you want to spend a lot of time waiting. I mean, you see a lot of these people now, man. Every month it seems like there's a new IFBB pro, both men and women. You got like 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 22, all these young people getting pro cards. It's like, man, they've been on gear for a while at that point. I've talked about before somebody like Sam Sulek, who I believe has not done bodybuilding yet to this point. He has not even done a show. But somebody like him, at the size he is, at like 21, 22, in all likelihood, he has been taking a good amount of stuff since he was 15 or 16 years old.
You want to compete anytime soon? Personally, no. I don't see it in my future at the moment. If that changes, I'll let y'all know, but I don't have a crazy love for competitive bodybuilding.
All right, this whole competitive bodybuilding thing is so redundant, and I'm always going to bring it up because it's so ridiculous. Competitive bodybuilding, that's like saying you're a competitive powerlifter. They're competitive by the nature of the activities. Recreational bodybuilders compete in bodybuilding still. These dudes get so mad over it, and that brings me joy, but you're not a bodybuilder just because you lift weights. And then they're gonna say, according to this dictionary definition, bodybuilder is anybody who builds their body with muscle mass. It's like, okay, so by your definition, everybody that goes to the gym, or almost everybody's a bodybuilder. The 80-year-old grandma who's rehabbing from an injury is a bodybuilder. The 10-year-old kid who's just doing some curls and push-ups with his friends as a bodybuilder, that is a laughably low bar. And once again, man, these guys all talk about abusing gear, and these bodybuilders, they're so arrogant, they're so full of themselves, but then everybody wants to be a bodybuilder. If you guys actually believed what you say, you would not want to call yourself a bodybuilder. You would push that term and that lifestyle away from yourselves. So everybody's talking about, oh, bodybuilding is so bad, but then it's like, I am a bodybuilder myself too. Shut up.
How will you prevent the urge to take more gear? It's a slippery slope that's easy to fall down.
That is a very good question. And that's how it goes, man. I mean, a lot of the time people say, oh, I'll only do a little bit of test. Then 2 months later, you're on a lot more test. Then a few months later, another compound. And that can really happen with any drug.
Not for me, bro. I've already been extremely successful in multiple ways in life, and for me, I want to live long and I want to have a good life. I just want to be healthy and feel good living life.
Okay, bro, you want to be healthy and feel good, but you're going to stay at 9-10% body fat. This is an interesting predicament, because he would say, like, well, I need to be leaner for my income and my lifestyle. But that said, if he did like a bulking series, I would assume that would do very well view-wise. Because people are invested in him, and I'm sure they would love to see how it goes. Even if he got so-called fat, even if he had a total breakdown and legitimately got fat, like if he just went off the rails, that would get a ton of views.
I don't care about getting stupid bigger. Yeah, on the test, am I looking forward to gaining a little bit of size? Yeah. I'm not trying to be extremely big though. My goal, honestly, while taking all this, if I could add like 10 pounds of lean muscle mass over the course of the next year or two, I'm completely cool and content with that. If it's even less than that, that's cool too.
I mean, really, dude, if you took him and you cloned him, he had an identical twin, and the first version of Alex stays at 9-10% body fat and does the 200 mgs of test and trains like he's normally doing. The other one has no hormones, but he is going to bulk for the same amount of time, say a year. You could argue that the natural one is going to gain more muscle mass, ultimately. It's hard to say that because this is a conceptual scenario, but that is the difference that eating more food is ultimately going to make. And I know guys are going to comment below like, oh, but the studies show that you can take testosterone and sit on the couch and you're going to pack on a bunch of muscle mass. You're not going to sit there and take a just over TRT dose and make essentially novice level gains after 8 years of training.
I don't think that stuff, the steroid blasting, taking all these crazy cycles is not appealing to me. I want to keep my hair, I want to keep feeling healthy, I want to keep my skin healthy, I want to live long because I have gotten so much success at a young age. What's your favorite hobby you like to leave off social media because it's just for you to chill? I don't know, I kind of put everything on social media.
Yeah, well, that is a trademark of this generation. Nobody can do anything without putting it online.
Are you going to be changing up the routine now that you are taking small doses of TRT?
Well, that is not a small dose of TRT. 200 milligrams is really more than TRT. 200 milligrams is like a tiny cycle.
Definitely changing up my routine a little bit now that I know my body's going to be more receptive to...
Please don't tell me he's going to say push-pull legs, bro.
I am looking forward to that, so my training is a little bit more dialed in than usual. I always have trained hard and kept it consistent 6-7 days a week in the gym.
6-7 days a week in the gym. And staying very lean all the time. And you're surprised that you feel like shit? Jesus Christ, bro.
Now I'm definitely going to try and take it a little bit more, training a little bit more intensively, adding a little bit more volume and stuff like that in, just because I know my body's going to be able to recover a little bit better. So a little bit of a different routine. And I'm kind of dialing my diet a little bit more. I know that you can hold more water and whatnot when you are eating out a lot, which I tend to do a lot. So I am trying to eat a little bit cleaner. Do I feel a difference yet? So tomorrow will be 3 weeks since I started, right? So this is around the time when I should start feeling a little bit of a change. I would say so far in the gym and out of the gym, I do feel a little bit more of a I feel more confident and aggressive. I don't know how to explain it. It's just more of a feeling like I'm not second guessing things as much and I'm being more authoritative with how my actions are. If that makes any sense at all, I would say I'm feeling a little bit more rested.
Bro, what is this thing beeping?
I'm not as sore. I am growing a little bit more body hair, I'm already finding out.
Ah, good for you, buddy.
Wrong by harming your body. I don't think taking TRT...
Bro, how do you have a channel the size of this guy and all the money he has and the influence he has, and you can't even, shut your door to block out this beeping sound? Or, I don't know, go in another room? Or get, a little microphone to attach to yourself? This shit blows my mind, dude.
I could give two shits about, in a sense, the fitness industry in general. I'm just doing my own thing. I'm doing me. I'm doing Alex Eubank. And the amount of people trying to make, content off of my name, that shit always baffles me. It's hilarious.
Hey, my content's great, sir.
Would I ever consider pumping tests up to 400 to 500? No.
We'll take his word for it.
So for the Christians asking about the whole sex drive thing I said in my last video.
It seems like a decent amount of his audience are Christian, because I am sure he's branded himself that way. So he's gotta take the righteous path.
Bro, what I didn't mean by that, I'm gonna be going around banging hella chick. I don't mean that. All I'm saying is I want to feel the effects that I would feel when I was a brand new teenager, feeling like a male, knowing that your testosterone's high because of the way that you feel.
Do you think Jesus would have taken TRT if it was available back then?
I'm going to show you all that I have been natural my whole life, and you will see me get a better physique.
How are you going to prove you've been natural your whole life? Especially at this point. The most dedicated fakes are going to compete in the so-called natural federations, and they might go through the polygraph test, that crock of shit. Or they'll get some blood work and they'll show it as if that's hard proof of something, which it's not.
And I am excited for that, but don't expect me to be some booted up ass dude like a Sam Sulek and tren twin. I'm not taking stuff like that.
Well, that's another aspect too. Genetically, do you think you could get as big as Sam, even if you were blasting as much as Sam is? Or as big as the Tren twins? I don't know about that. Alright, so that video's done. Let's just read some of these comments here, because I'm interested to see what they have to say. Calling Lexx a clown is an L. Oh, I guess Lex Little was the one he was impersonating. Lex Little's another so-called natural, I believe, right? This guy says, I'm doing this for myself, then proceeds to make another video complaining about what people think of you. Yeah, he kind of has that thing where he talks about, I don't care what people think of me, but he keeps mentioning what people think about him, so it's kind of like, eh. This guy says, I want to feel like a teenager. Bro is 24 years of age. Yeah, it is kind of funny in that sense. I mean, if you are getting the side effects from being very lean, that will definitely affect things. You can feel much older than you are. But yeah, he's not even terribly removed from being a teenager. This guy says, you haven't attempted a bulk in years. Such a weak mentality to inject before picking up the fork. Thinking you peaked at a mere 170 pounds is insane. That was the highest weight he got to, 170 pounds. I mean, 170... at that low body fat is pretty impressive. I don't know how tall he is. I'm at the point now that I am in the low 190s still, slowly but surely going up. Then I checked the scale the other day, my weight went down by 2 pounds again. That's just how my metabolism is. But I do want to get back to 200 in the near future, then surpass that. Still keeping some visible abs. I think we're on the right track. It's been a while since an update, so I'll give you guys one soon. Maybe. This is a great Zoomer comment. Bum just never bulked and convinced himself that he needed to hop on. Can't believe I used to look up to bro. This guy says, went from the biggest fish in the natural tank to the smallest in the gym rat roid tank. Can't even go back. Good job. And then Alex says, you thought I was big Natty with the little blushy face? Then this guy says, yes, you were big. But I didn't mean literally the biggest, I meant the best physique. Who cares about being the biggest? Well, you, I guess. Well, I mean, Alex did say he does not care about being the biggest. If he actually did, he would be not scared to bulk. You see how this works? Oh, and here we go. This comment is pretty much the summation of the Church of Natty as I talk about. Alex, your body is a temple of the Lord God. Stay natty. Honor God. Well, I guess he's just another heathen. Even though tons of really roided up people love God. It's funny how that works. So that is that. Leave your comments down below. And it is well past time for me to end this video and eat once again. You should eat too, Alex. But this has been it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. Be sure to share this with a friend that needs to see it. Check out my training programs and nutrition guide, as well as the testimonials down below. The best way to get in direct contact with me is via Patreon, and you get access to our community Discord server there. Lifetime access, and use my links and codes to save money on some great products and services. And I will catch you guys next time.